It's been a shaky few days in world stocks, with the Australian share market shedding tens of billions of dollars. And if you're one of the 15 million Australians that has a superannuation balance, you could be affected. Financial planner Olivia Maragna is here with some advice on how to handle these volatile times. Olivia, firstly, thank you so much for joining us once again. What does this mean for super fund members?
Well, it really depends on, I guess, where they've invested their funds, and that's why it's really important to understand your own superannuation. So if you've got more of a growth profile with your superannuation fund, it's likely that you've had a bit of a downturn, around about probably 2 to 3% over the last couple of days. So that's around about $2,000 to $3,000 per $100,000 that you've got sitting in your superannuation fund. For those with a little bit more of a conservative approach or profile in their superannuation funds, are probably a much lesser decrease there, so maybe only around about $1,000 or $2,000 in total.
Okay, I just checked my super balance literally 2 weeks ago. How often should we be doing that?
Well, I think if you're a younger Australian, probably look once a year is probably sufficient and appropriate to keep a track of your superannuation to make sure that everything's going along well and you're actually getting paid your super. But I think as you get closer into your 40s, certainly in your 50s and when you retire, generally sort of once a quarter or once every 6 months is definitely recommended. And that's just to make sure that everything's on track for what you're expecting. So if you're getting close to retirement and you're doing some smart strategies, keep an eye on it a little bit closer and making sure that obviously your deadline for when you want to finish work is accurate and it doesn't need to be pushed out a little bit more.
So in light of what's gone on this week, do you think retirees should be worried?
Well, I think it's not I guess, good reason to panic, but it's certainly not good to be complacent about the volatility. We should be expecting a little bit more. The US markets have continued to rally over the last couple of years. So just make sure you know where your money's invested, but also don't underestimate the value of having a good levels of cash in your superannuation to not only pay for obviously pensions in retirement, but be there to gain some opportunities if these markets decrease.
Yeah, so are they your best tips for anyone looking to retire over the next few years?
Well, I think in terms of when we look at regrets for retirees, most of them underestimate what they need to actually accumulate. They underestimate what they spend, which means their money decreases or erodes away quite quickly. So look, I think really important to understand where you are, where you need to be, but also what strategies you need to put in place. So super's complex. If you don't sort of have the education or the knowledge around it, don't be afraid to obviously seek professional help.
Okay, I've got a little way to go yet, but it is duly noted. Olivia from Aspire Retire, thank you so much for joining us.
Queensland is watching the #1 news hour.